Hi, welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is May 12th, 2024. It's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to everybody. And this is my weekly update, number 63. This is where I talk about everything I worked on and completed throughout the week. So I managed to get something quilted on the long arm this week. I put a binding on another quilt. I fully finished some cross stitch objects, made some socks, some crocheted socks, and I've also worked on some diamond painting. So let's take a look at it all. So first thing I'm going to put up is what I quilted on the long arm. So this is what came off the long arm this week. Now this was a quilt top that I had made several years ago, and it was all from fabrics that I think I even bought the fabrics from Joann because I remember buying them, but it's been several years ago. I just quilted it this week. I quilted it with a paisley pantograph. Now this quilt is a disappearing pinwheel quilt, and it was a tutorial from Missouri Star that I had used this. So basically you can make a big pinwheel and then you cut it apart and turn things around, and this is what you get with. So let's take a closer look at the quilting. So we're starting at the top and working our way down. You can start to see those paisleys right in there that we quilted, or I quilted. We'll go over to a side. Go up. And let's take a look at the backing I used. And there is a look at the blue backing that was put on it. And those paisleys. So with this quilt, that means I have quilted 13 quilts this year. Now I have a goal to quilt 50. Now I've kind of fallen behind in that just because, you know, different things happen in life, but summer's right around the corner and hopefully I'll have more time during the summer months to kind of get back on track. We'll see if I make 50, who knows. Now, what else did I do? Well, I put a binding on another quilt. So let's hang it up and we'll take a look at that one. So this is a jelly roll race that I had put the binding on this week. Now I had made this top again several years ago, and then I quilted it earlier in the year, and I just got around to putting the binding on it this week. So this makes 12 quilts I've put binding on this year. So we'll go in and take a closer look at everything. So there is the top. And there's the quilting, just some little swirly things. It's one of my quilt patterns I like to do when I don't know what else to quilt, and it's called Whipsy or Whimsy, something like that. Okay, let's take a look at the backing and the label. Now I had just used this batik for the backing, and there is the label right there. So I worked on a few other things for quilting and piecing. And I worked on this legendary quilt pattern from Elizabeth Hart. So I have finished working all of these trees and the Sasquatch I'd previously finished. So now I've got all of these pinned together into 3 different rows. And we'll take a look at that. Now, my trees are not all the same fabric. They're a little more scrappy and use different greens. My husband found this quilt pattern when we went to Colorado, and there was a sample that he liked that was hanging up that had the different greens. So when I came home, I decided to use different greens for mine. So this is the first row, and the third row is going to be, you know, very similar to this. It's just a bunch of trees. Like I said, this is just pinned together. There's all the pins. So I will actually finish sewing the row next time I take it to the sewing machine. So that's what the first and third row is looking like. And this is the second row with the big foot block in it. There's that Bigfoot block. So then after I get all those done to the rows, I start adding some sashing and some borders. So that is where I am on that. Again, there's a look at the pattern. And the other quilt top I worked on this week is from Riley Blake, and it is Meet the Makers, and this was a quilt kit that I had bought several years ago. Came in one of these nice little boxes, although my stuff is busting at the seams there. And this is the pattern. What it will look like when it's all done. Now this pattern consists of an alternating block and then blocks 1 through 4. So the alternating block is going to be this block there with the purple, the pinks, some greens, and I've almost got those sewn together. As you can see, there's my pens, but when we open it up, that's what that'll look like. There's what the green one looks like. And there is 25 blocks of this. They have different colors. Let's see, here's a yellow one. There's a yellow one. And here is a purple one. So I've got all of those. Next time I take that to the sewing machine, I will sew those down and those alternate blocks will all be done. Now block 1, this is what block 1 is looking like. I've got these pinned together back there. So next time I take it to the sewing machine, block 1 will all be all done too. And I think there's 8 of these. And then I did cut out block 2, which, let me show you what block 2 is. Block 2 is this green and blue block right there. Now this over here is block 1, and then this is block 2. So I've got those all cut out, and I've got them pinned together to make some half square triangles. There we go. I'll just sew 1/4 inch on each side of that line and cut them apart, make some half square triangles. Then I got the other pieces here, and I've got these together, which that is a blue and a white for some 2 patches. And these rows, they're just pinned together, all part of block 2. So that is everything that I've worked on this week as far as quilting and piecing goes. So let's move on to cross stitch. Let me show you what I did there. On cross stitch, I had been working on my samplers of the month, my Country Cottage Needlework sample of the month, and this is June. I've almost finished stitching this, but not quite. So we'll take a look at that. This is June. Now I still have to add a couple lines of stitching like these, come down here. And then I've got some back stitching to do and some French knots. I got to add some French knots for some water seeds in the watermelon. And then there's like a little ant up through there, and there's some back stitching through the windows. And then down here the same things, a little ant and some watermelon seeds. And then I'll be done with that. So that will be done this week. Now I've also FFO'd, or fully finished, objects of cross stitch, which is this. This is May. This is in this little easel thing. Now I did do a video which will come out Tuesday on how I completed this. So there is May. Flip it over. And there's April. Now these have magnets in them, so I can just switch them out as need be. So I can pull this out. We got washers and magnets on the back. Then we got March. There is March. February. And January. And there's all that. And again, that's May. May does come off as well. See? Just my washers and magnets. So I'm going to switch back out my January for April here. There we go. And once I get June done, we'll put June on there. So crochet. Well, I've been making some socks. So last week I had shown you these socks that I were making. Oops, nope, not those. Those are the ones I started on. The Big Bend National Park socks. That's what I was working on last week, and I'd actually had a pair of socks done. Now this comes from a subscription box from Lether Code called Hooked on Socks. They no longer offer this subscription box, but they used to, and these are just kind of finishing up those subscriptions to get them done. So last week I had kind of shown you something like these socks, except they were much bigger. And at first I said, okay, well, I'll still keep them, just, you know, for those really cold days when I need more than one pair of socks. However, I went ahead and I did the other pair of socks, which is this. Now, I couldn't put quite as much stripes in it because the mini skein, but that's okay. And these fit well. So I decided to tear the big socks that I had out and make smaller ones. So that's what I did. So I made these pair and these pair because I had to rip them completely out. And then I took out another subscription box and I'm starting to make these Acadia socks. So this is where I am. Now, of course I had to, because these subscriptions yarns, these are wool socks. I think it's 85% wool and 15% nylon. Well, they come in hanks, and you can't work with hanks. You have to put those in the balls. So I did that. And I used my Swift and my ball winder to make that more into a kink with that. And this is the mini skein. That will be for the cuff, which is right there. And I just started. I haven't got very far. That's as far as I got. But I did work on that. I think after these socks are done, I have 2 more subscription boxes of sock yarn. So I'm working my way through that. And one other thing that I did. And that is this. I worked on this diamond painting, and this is Protege. We'll take a look at that. I only started on the bottom, and I'm working over here on this corner over here. So not a lot of progress on that yet, but we're getting there. And that's what it will look like when it's done. Okay, so that's everything I worked on this week. Till next time.